Okay, we're back with Peter Wallace from Day One, and now you were talking about your faith journey, and now you're here with Day One. So I guess first I could ask you how that tests your faith when you're you got to come up with someone to well, maybe you better tell what Day One is. Just
okay. Day One is a weekly half-hour radio program that started in 1945 as the Protestant Hour and was the Protestant Hour up until 6 years ago. It's been 6 years, God. But we still call it the Protestant Hour here sometimes too. It was started by leaders from the denominations at the time, the Presbyterians, Lutherans, and Methodists, and the Southern Baptists, and representatives from Emory and Candler, Agnes Scott, and Columbia got together, and they wanted to do something to get the gospel of these churches out on the cutting edge technology of the time, which was radio. And so they started this, and what it was each denomination took control of 1/4 of the year. They produced it so that you had really 4 different programs through the year. Over the years, and so there was usually one preacher who preached for 12 or 13 weeks. And you had some of the greats of the second half of the 20th century Protestant preaching on the program, often year after year. Edmund Steinley is known by, it's rare that we don't have a preacher come in now who doesn't cite Edmund Steinley, who is a fantastic Lutheran preacher, was on just about every year. John Redhead, Sam Shoemaker, on and on and on.
J. Wallace Hamilton.
That's right. C.S. Lewis's voice was actually on, he did the Four Loves before it was a book. So there were some interesting things. The Southern Baptists left after the first year and did their own thing. And then the Episcopal Media Center, which was then the Episcopal Radio and Television Center, came in as the Episcopal partner, and that was probably in the late 40s. So they've been involved since then. And then it continued like that for years. When I came on in 2001, we still worked with the 4 denominations at the time, and each denomination had its own producer who selected their preachers, but they had gone from the quarter thing to more a rotation. But because I think you'll remember in 2001 we had a recession, and then we had 9/11. And that devastated church budgets, and a lot of things were devastated, obviously. And so suddenly they were having to pull their support. It took a couple of years. We added the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship during that time, which is a fantastic group, very progressive, socially active, and mission-oriented group. And the United Church of Christ came on board, and they helped us a bit. The North Georgia Conference of the United Methodist Church was a huge help for us during that transition. But we basically had to then become a self-supporting organization, which we were not used to do, and I had no background in. So it was amazing because of the goodwill of the Protestant Hour, which has been the voice of the mainline Protestant churches for now 63 years. We've been able to kind of gain the support that we needed to survive. We also, when I came on, the board of the Protestant Hour Incorporated had just sold their massive facility on the campus of Emory University, which became an Emory property. They had donated the property in the early 50s. So we had a little money in the bank to carry us over, but we didn't want to spend it all. You know, we wanted to build on that. So we realized that in around 2004 that we were going to run out of money before we could make this work. We have a very small staff, very modest budget. We don't pay for any of our airtime. We don't offer honoraria to our speakers, much to our chagrin. Hopefully we'll change that someday. But we realized that we were over here in the All Saints space in Midtown Atlanta when we sold that building we leased this space, and so did the Episcopal Media Center, our Episcopal partner. And we were working together side by side. We were sharing staff resources and office resources, and after a few years of this, Skip Schutig, who helped me get this job, and I realized, you know, we would be stronger and more effective if we were just one organization rather than two smaller. And so that has helped us tremendously just in an organizational way to gain some strength. And they had some...
So the umbrella is the Alliance.
And then because it didn't make sense to have an ecumenical organization called the Episcopal Media Center, the umbrella organization became the Alliance for Christian Media.
Okay. All right. You know, with Protestant Hour, I can remember there was a time when I think the speaker got to select who did the music. And
a lot of times in their churches or
college choirs. And I remember when college choirs were on there in that day, before internet and TV and it became so prominent. Now, the college choir singing would dramatically increase the applications for admission at that college.
Well, and the other thing about the Protestant Hour was that if the preacher was selected by the denomination, especially in the United Methodist Church, that was a pathway to bishop. It was incredibly well-known. Back in the day, you know, the Protestant Hour, when radio stations were required to give free airtime as a public service, I think we were on about 600 and some stations. Those regulations decreased and so forth.
That was a 30-minute program, so they covered their
there were several programs like that. Yes, they had so many hours that they had to provide public service. Those rules have faded away. They still require public service, but they don't police that. And so we're still on 150 radio stations, which is incredible. If we were to start out and try to get free airtime, impossible. In Atlanta, we're on WSB, which is the #1 station. Their signal goes to 38 states, and they provided the time for free. But it's the highest rated talk program in the time slot, so they're very happy.
Didn't one of the major stations one time take it off, and there was a big protest?
Well, we just had one. That happened in Ithaca, New York, and then it's just happened in Raleigh, which our station there has carried us since the beginning. And we were informed about a month ago that they had to sell the time. Sorry, they had some new management and so forth. And I said, you know, what can we do? I mean, we can't pay the $500 a week to air it. So we let our folks know in that area, and they called the station, and within a few weeks they called back and said, we've come to our senses.
Yeah.
We've heard. And WSB tells us if they mess up any morning, or if they've had to cancel it because of some breaking news, which has happened a couple of times since I've been here, the phones ring off the hook. People love to listen.
Now, people can go to day1.org and find station nearest them.
They'll find the station list on there. They'll find audio. They can listen to the program anytime. We actually upload the audio of the program the week before it airs on the station. So if you want to get a little ahead, you can do that.
And day1.org is also a treasure trove of homiletical material.
12 years worth of sermon transcripts from the program and a couple years worth of the audio podcast. But we're currently developing an even broader website that we hope to launch in the first of the year, which will include archives of the Protestant Hour, which we've never had on there, audio and video, text, sermon transcripts, and blogs from some of our key voices and so forth. So it's going to become really a community and a resource for mainline Christianity.
Going to take another YouTube break, and we'll be back in just a moment. If you're watching on YouTube, go to part 3. If you're going to stay with us, enjoy the music and the pictures. We'll be right back.